Oh, God, I forgot to run the intro. Oh, well, we'll just jump right into it then. Hello and welcome inside the scores table. Brian Haenchen and Danny Riego here with you after a brief panic on both of our ends as Danny sorted through technical issues and I sorted through not realizing that we were just sitting here live. So thank God I did not sort as I want to do when the cameras are not rolling. It has been a very wild and eventful night to start sectional play, Danny.
Yeah. Yeah, it was great. There's so many games.
So many. I mean, a better I figured that it'd be an interesting game, but the surprises have been coming from some very different places. You can see it scrolled along the bottom there. Before we get too far into this, we'll be joined by Crown Points, Brad Stangel, sophomore Ava Richie coming off a wild win over Hammond and Morton, a game that I'd written off. I pulled up the stream and I turned it off because I think it was like a 20-point game when I texted you. That one turned out to be a fantastic game. Danny and I were both at Sectional A, and I have thoughts from that one, obviously. Plainfield comes back to beat Ben Davis. You had Chatard being stunned by Shortridge. I mean, just so many things to get to, Danny. Let's just start. It's simple. Let's start with the game that we are at. We are both at Carmel for Westfield versus Hamilton Southeastern, Zionsville versus Fishers. Zionsville opens the night with a 50-37 win over Fishers. That's honestly closer than what I thought it was. And Hamilton Southeastern 60-46 over Westfield. I'll let you take lead off on Zionsville Fishers.
Yeah, Zionsville's going to be hard to beat when their three juniors play that well. Like Chapman, Tinder, and Zach. I mean, those were the three kids that we kind of mentioned that we kind of honed in on Tinder and Zach having to play well for Zionsville to have to advance right in this tournament. But I was impressed with Mackenzie Chapman tonight. Like I thought she just had what was maybe one would deem like a nice floor game and got in a double digits. She was getting rebounds. She was getting assists. Ball pressure wasn't bothering her. She was moving the ball. Like there was a possession at the end of the third quarter where like she's just in complete control of tempo, gets her teammate a wide open three. They end up missing that three, but getting an offensive rebound and putting it back. But Chapman was the catalyst for all that stuff. Like a great game by her. And that's why they're moving on.
And how about that Zionsville defense too? Talking to Jen Drudge after the game, that's something she said that offensively they didn't really play together as a unit. They had some good individual performance. Emily Zach, I'd throw her name in there too. She was a factor. She's been playing well here of late, but defensively, I mean, they made life miserable for Fishers. And Fishers has kind of had trouble shooting the ball all season, but the way that Zionsville was able to pressure them and kind of mix things up on them made it even more difficult and just almost impossible. I think they're outscored 30-10. Fishers had a chance to tie the score at 7 early on. They didn't, and they were outscored 30-10 from there. I don't know if you remember that point of the game, but Ellie Frobing went down, hit a big three right after the missed free throw, and is kind of off to the races. But Zionsville, I mean, just totally different from what I'd seen on stream recently. And Fishers, the opposite direction after Franklin Central when they gave the Flash a run for their money.
Yeah, you talked about the defense on Zionsville's side. With Votov back on the sidelines, and look, Bill did it too. So it's not to say that you could really see Lauren Votov's 5 out and Fisher's 5 out in play in this game, but they guarded their man for man. Like they weren't having to bring a ton of help. They were able to stay home on their individual matches. I mean, how many times in the Sectional 8 game in years past have we seen a Lauren Votov Fishers team like spread you out and just get to wherever they want and dictate tempo? That was not the case tonight. And so you're right. It's nice that Coach Drudge was talking about their defense because that definitely showed tonight.
Really, really excellent. And that sets up too. I should just mention the stats since I have Mackenzie Chapman, 16 points, 14 for Emma Tinder, 10 for Emily Zach. Really important. Sorry, I got sidetracked there looking at a text message from our next guest. I'm all over the place as we get settled in here. That sets up Zionsville versus Carmel. Again, Danny, early season matchup. A lot of things have changed since the beginning of the season, but that's going to be a fascinating game, especially if Carmel decides to pressure Zionsville. Because we saw a little bit late in the game, and obviously it's garbage time, but it's been kind of a trend for Zionsville, just a little bit of trouble handling that pressure without a true point guard there to handle things for them. So I'm curious in that semifinal. We'll dive into more of this on Thursday, but how does Zionsville handle the press? What does Carmel throw at them in terms of wrinkles and challenges?
The inconsistency of Zionsville, I don't think is frustrating to only Zionsville. It's also frustrating to like teams that are scouting them. Like I had a brief conversation with Jess. Obviously, she was in the building. The sectionals being hosted in her gym. And so she just made a comment. It's like, well, this is a different team than we played. Like, so she's also frustrated too, because now she goes into practice tomorrow, and the focus probably should always be the best version of yourselves and not worry about the opponent so much. But you want to give your team as much advantage as possible. But now you go in there with like very mixed messages almost because because of the different Zionsville teams showing up each night. But to force through the trees kind of thing. The right Zionsville showed up tonight, that's for sure, because they look great.
Yeah, they absolutely did. Let's move it over to we should mention too, and I kind of forgot about this with how well Zionsville played until it kind of clicked in when Jess and I were actually texting and she mentioned the Brownsburg game. 4 days ago, they gave up a school record 18 3-pointers and got their brains beaten in by Brownsburg. So that's the resilience and the response of a team to come back from that cannot be overstated or undervalued, or overvalued. I mean, it says a lot about this Zionsville team. That's something else that Jen alluded to, was just this team over the course of an 11-11 season, one that they thought they were going to have a better regular season, but they stayed with it, and they kind of had to learn to build that resiliency, and they kind of builds callousism, whatever you want to phrase it. And you saw that on display tonight with the way that they responded against Fishers. I mean, they left no room for doubt in that victory. It was really, really impressive and sets up what should be a fun game for Friday night.
I got to I'll segue this for you.
Perfect.
And I think it's going to be the theme of what we saw in both matchups in Sectional 8 tonight. But age and experience matter. They just do. I mean, you have Tinder, you have Zach, you have Chapman, and all in the sectional last year. Frobig is a senior. I think that's a very old group. We talked about how there were some young pieces, and particularly in the second game, even on both sides. But the experience and the kids with a little bit of mileage on them, I thought really impacted the game. And I don't think that's any exception with Zionsville either.
That sets up perfectly, because that's what I think I'm going to write about tonight, is just the value of age. The HSE especially, like HSE just a couple years ago, we were talking about how this group just couldn't quite get over the hump. That was the thing. It was just, when is it going to happen? Is it going to happen? And tonight you kind of saw the fully realized evolution of this team. And yes, there's still a lot of young pieces, but now KK Holman, Kayla Stidham, Ant Green are all seniors. They've all been through the ringer. They've experienced winning now. They're at where Westfield hopes to get, and I think they will get here over the next couple of years. But experience at this time of year is just so invaluable, and it's specifically in Sectional 8. Like, not to put on a pedestal or whatever, but it's a little different. I feel like it's unique in just the challenges that it presents, the level of the teams, the familiarity of the teams, and experience it's just such a big, big difference. And that's why I picked HSE over Westfield, even though Westfield has the talent to beat HSE, I think. It's just, I mean, the start of that second half, man, HSE, like, that was a veteran run by HSE, and that flipped the game on its head, and they pulled away from there.
Well, and who are the catalysts of the run? Like, and no one needs to hear like me talking to. We all saw it tonight, right? It was Abby Orm, it was Ant Green. I was actually sitting next to one of the coaches that coached with Coach Huppenthal, who again was on Coach Satterfield's staff last year, and he was telling me that Huppenthal, when he was on staff last year, wouldn't shut up about how good of a defender Ant Green is. Like, a truly underrated defender. That kid flipped the game, like, with her ball pressure. And it wasn't just her. Like, Abby Orm was the other kid. Again, like, you guys don't need me to sit here and tell you that Abby Orm and Ant Green were the difference in that basketball game, particularly in the third quarter. And it was that blatantly obvious. It was really good scout, I think, by HSE. Really good adjustment at the half. Really good execution. I think their plan was really good. But again, Ant Green, this isn't the first time she's flipped the game because of her pickup point and her defensive pressure. Abby Orm's getting into the mix too. Her offense carried along, but those kids weren't afraid to get beat off the bounce. They were taking chances. They were being super aggressive, hyper aggressive at right when these guards are crossing into the half court. And the youth of Westfield had had a lot to handle tonight.
And it was very similar to last year's sectional final between those two teams, where I think it might have been Ant Green poked it loose, whoever it was, pokes it loose. It ends up with KK Holman. She sprints in, lays it up, and then it's off to the races. And KK in the second half was brilliant. Ant Green only had 2 points, but it was a really important 2-pointer from what I remember. I have it in my notes somewhere, where Westfield was finally getting a little bit of life, and then suddenly Ant Green steals score, backbreaker.
Yep.
It was just one of those nights, and HSE, like we said, experience. They've learned how to put the hammer down, and they did that.
Yeah. Yeah. And I talked about how, Abby's offense kind of carried along with her defense. It's actually probably the other way around. I think she got her offense going, and that gave her a little bit more confidence and a little bit more footing in the game flow, I think, to be able to provide that pressure. But when you get 15 point, I don't know what the final was. I think at one point in time it was 15 by Abby Orm. Like you're weaponizing KK Holman in that instance. Like you're totally weaponizing her. You didn't just get the 15 from Abby Orm. You got 3 big threes from Piper Brindley. Mm-hmm. The Westfield defense was dedicated in trying to take Stidham away. And so they had a lot of driving lanes, and it just seemed like at every moment Kennedy was just in the paint, making a play, whether she was jumping back into you for a foul, whether she was extending on a layup to try to finish her an and one, or whether she was kicking to one of her teammates. But I think HSE, again, I really kind of marvel at, and we've said this about like Satterfield coach teams in the past, like they can get pace in other ways other than just like full court press and let's go. Like they changed their pickup point as well as any team in the last couple of years that I can remember. They changed their pickup point. I'll tell you something else that Satterfield did tonight. When he changed the pickup point with Orm and Green specifically, there's about 6 minutes left in the fourth quarter. Westfield got back-to-back baskets, and it got down to like 14 or 15. Still a very comfortable margin, particularly in a game like that. But Coach Satterfield called a timeout with 6 minutes left, settled his kids down. I think they picked up a couple of fouls, and they were overextending their pressure a little bit and just settled them down a little bit. And that to me seems like a coach and a team that is really in step and really have a strong grasp as to who they are and what they need to do to win basketball games, particularly on the defensive side. But the 60 points, like the HSE scoring 60 against Westfield, the path to victory for Westfield was to kind of play this game in the 40s. Mm-hmm. And I just, like the kids just hit open shots. Like here, we said this about Haley Mazzara in the pregame, that she only takes open shots. Well, Brindley only took open shots tonight, and she made them. Orm only took open shots tonight, and she made them. Like these kids, they're just making shots, and they're not creating them on their own. Like Kennedy's creating them for them. The offense is creating them. The tempo is creating them. Like when I was saying, like Holman affects game flow more than anybody else. Like we saw it tonight. Officiating Kennedy Holman's impossible, right?
Yeah.
Like at one point in time, Westfield was forcing her left. Like you need to know, if you force her left, you're giving her a half step. She doesn't need a half step to get by you. She takes the half step and then she jumps right back into you because you're trailing on the right side to get a foul and to get to the free throw line. Like she was really comfortable with what she needed to do in this game too. She played a great game. But the headline for me is that third quarter run behind the ball pressure of Green and Orm.
We talked all year, where's the scoring going to come from beyond Holman, beyond Stidham? And now we're seeing everybody chipping in. Abby Orm, Piper Brindley was great tonight. Yeah. And Kelsey after the game alluded to that, Westfield's coach alluded to that, just the other kids stepped up and were hitting threes. I think it was like Orm and Brindley combined for, I think, 4 threes apiece. What's 12 of their points right there? And they're already at their average at halftime, which isn't a great sign for Westfield. And KK only had 9 points, and I think most of those came at the free throw line, if I'm not mistaken. And then, like you said, she started going inside. She started getting some transition opportunities created by that HSE defense, which is just so good. Like I forget honestly how good it is until I see it in person. Because it's always in the background like it's good, but not unlike Center Groves. You witness it in person, it's like, oh, it's that freaking good. It's remarkable to watch.
The other thing too that Holman got to do is she didn't have to guard one of the 2 leading scorers for Westfield. Like that was what a luxury. You have one of the best on-ball defenders in maybe the country, and she gets to chill while the other team extends the ball pressure on her, and she was actually really impressive tonight in like help protection too. Like she was protecting the rim. She blocked a couple of shots at the rim and changed a couple of shots at the rim. So what a luxury for HSE to be able to guard different spots with different players like that, not named Kennedy Holman.
Still, though, watching her go against Michaela Hatcher was fun to watch. Like that was physical. Like that was violent, especially in the first half. And they were trading blows. KK got, I think, picked her pocket maybe once or twice. Hatcher swat her shots, and then they trade roles and do the same thing to the other on the other end. Like that was fun and physical. Like Hatcher tonight, I thought was going to be the one to take off and give Westfield a chance. Like I thought the freshman would steal the show, but Hatcher be the one quietly doing it. She was held to 6 points, mostly by Holman, who was really good. And instead it was Audra Parker who kind of filled that role. She finished with 17. We'll dive into Westfield more, I think, later in the season. But just, I mean, the future's so bright for them. Lily Clark, 9 points. Gabby Bassett, I think, had, let's see, she finished with 4, it looks like. And then you got 6 from Hatcher, like I said, and 8 from Ella Wheeler. Yeah. But for Westfield, the future is very bright for them, I think, and that was kind of their message inside the room. For Kelsey, this was her first team, her first senior class that she's had all 4 years since taking over as Westfield coach. So, yeah, but like you said, I mean, experience pays this time of year, and HSE's the more experienced team, and they're going to be a handful moving forward.
Yeah, and one note on Westfield, like that was a close game in the first quarter and the first half. Like it was, I think the halftime score was 27-23. It was probably even closer than that. Maybe a little baby run toward the end of the half extended the lead to 4. But I mean, I think it was back and forth for a while. And I'd heard somebody in my section kind of talk about how there was just no like flow to the game, like just no flow. And I said to the people I was sitting with, I said, that's completely by design. Like it's completely by design for Westfield to muck this thing up, to slow it down, and to make it kind of a a red zone game. But they the fact that they were able to do that to HSE, I think is impressive. Like, and that's why, and just let's give them a bouquet here. It's why people picked them to win this game. Like the people that picked Westfield to win this game. And that's why, because they've seen them successfully do that through the year. Look, Southeastern just outclassed them. Like you had just more experience, just better execution of the game plan. One adjustment, I think, at the beginning of the third quarter in the change of that pickup point, I think really did it. Kelsey knew too. Like when that was like a 31-23 game, I'm thinking like this thing's over. Like it's 31-23 in that game felt over to me because it was played so close in the first half. And I think the person that not agreed with me that it was over, but agreed with me that was a critical stretch was Kelsey, because she called a timeout. And then HSE comes out with another kind of 2 possession run, and then another timeout happens. So and you have the numbers there. I'll let you kind of talk through those runs, but Kelsey knew that if that thing got to 10, 11, 12, Westfield is not a team that's constructed to come back, right? Mm-hmm. I mean, they are a ground and pound kind of team, the way that they were constructed this year. Their 3 points electricity came from the 2 freshmen, which HSE knew, and they played them as 3-point shooters. Even off the bounce, they played them as 3-point shooters, which was really, really impressive. There was always bodies flying at them. And just from a coaching perspective too, by the way, like when you play somebody as a 3-point shooter, you're literally not afraid to get beat off the bounce. Like it's okay because you're only recovering to the 3-point line. It just, again, really good execution by HSE, and that's going to cause problems for really everybody in that sectional if they guard that well.
Sets up there for HSE versus Noblesville. Danny and I are going to be back on Thursday with a preview show, so we'll dive into that matchup specifically here coming up. Danny, let's shift way up north. Let's go to the Crown Point Morton games, which will be joined here in just a few minutes by their coach and sophomore standout. Crown Point 53-49. I texted you, I think, somewhere in the first half, and I was like, oh, it's a 20-point game. I'm going to go ahead and switch over. I think your exact response was, Morton's not a team built to come back. And I thought, boy, we're going to look like assholes if this thing gets tighter, if Morton wins. And sure enough, as I'm walking out of the gym tonight, you're like, dude, this game is going crazy. Yep. I will let you take it from there, and then I will throw some stats out there.
Well, so I didn't watch the game, and I watched it on Speed Watch. I was able to put a lot of attention to it to the second half, but just kind of speeding through the first portion of the game. Crown Point comes out and I think leads by 15 or 14 at the end of the first quarter, like just jumps all over them. That is relatively I don't want to say normal, and I'll qualify the statements in saying that Morton isn't built as a team that can come back, which that comment didn't age very well. But it wasn't like a huge run that did it. Like the 14-point lead was like an 8-point lead at the half. It was then a 6-point lead at the end of the third quarter. They tied the game a couple of times, and then it became a possession by possession basketball game in the last maybe 2.5 minutes. A couple calls, couple layups, couple free throws here or there, and a couple of decisions. That's, your season as basketball players and basketball teams hang in the balance of a couple of possessions. But what that was to me is Crown Point's attention to detail and execution down the stretch. We can dice up and talk about how they built that 14-point lead, and we can talk about the things that Hammond and Morton did to adjust. But the water level of Crown Point and Hammond Morton just kind of merged at the same point. And then it just, like I said, it became like kind of a college overtime. Like, we've got the ball, you've got the ball, we've got the ball, you've got the ball. Fouls played a big role in that basketball game, but it is in fact Crown Point moving on. In kind of like when you play who by record and by computers and by prediction is maybe the best team in that sectional, and you get them first, the rest of the sectional is a trap. Like, the whole thing is set up as a trap for Crown Point. So we'll have to talk to the coach about, like, yes, they get to go to practice tomorrow, but they have to go to practice tomorrow and get humbled right away. I didn't look even past this game to know. I know Lake Central is still on the other side. That's going to be an unbelievable matchup if we do in fact have that. But after Hammond Morton, who'd only lost one basketball game to Marquette Catholic all year, goes down, that is, I had predicted them to win the sectional and make some real noise even in the regional for perhaps a semi-state matchup. And that's bracket basketball for you, isn't it, Hank?
Yeah, it really is. Ava Richie will be here with us in a bit. 23 points, 12 points apiece for Ava Punek and Ivy Henderson. On the Morton side of things, you had 22 points from Patterson, 18 from Willingham. So game certainly go ahead.
That game was iced away by Ava Richie at the line. That I think she missed her second free throw of the year tonight. She's like a 96 or 97% free throw shooter or something like that. She actually missed one, and it like everybody's like, like Ava Richie just missed a free throw. But that kid was cold. Like, I talked about how they were really, really, really good at executing down the stretch. Like, again, it sounds like a small thing, okay? But here you have a 97% foul shooter, 98% foul shooter running around killing clock. She actually had a lane with a 2-point lead to try to take a contested layup, and she wheeled it out, burned another 6 seconds off the clock, takes the foul, gets the same 2 points that she would have gotten had she made the layup. It was a contested layup. And just played keep away. Like, keep away was a skill. We'll ask coach about this. The game was tied. This Crown Point Morton game was tied with 1:17 left, end line out of bounds, and Crown Point is in an ATO situation and gets a beautiful draw for Ivy Henderson. I'm going to ask coach about this. He gets a guard on big screen. They were dealing with foul trouble. He must have identified that they weren't switching that. If they did switch it, it was going to be Ivy on a guard. And if they didn't switch it, it was going to be Ivy on her defender who has 4 fouls. Just a great draw. And anyway, they ended up getting an and one on that. Now, she missed the free throw, but they ended up taking that 2-point lead, and they never relinquished the lead the rest of the basketball game.
Really impressive win for Crown Point. They improved to 20-4. And next up, Danny, is Hammond Central, whom they beat by 20 back at the beginning of the season. Winner of that game will face either Lake Central or Munster. Lake Central's favored in that game over Munster. But as we've learned tonight with some of these results, very stark reminder, crazier things have certainly happened. As we wait for them to jump on here, I think they're maybe having a little camera trouble. Is there any other games you want to touch on quickly? I know Floyd Central, Jeffersonville. Floyd Central got up early, maintained control a lot of the way. We had Pendleton Heights, Mount Vernon. Pendleton Heights rolled in that game as expected. Let's see. We'll have Coach and Avon here quickly. Any 1 minute thoughts from you, Dan, before you bring on the guests?
Yeah, so the 1 minute thought on Floyd Central is this the offensive star on that basketball team, to a lot of people who just see it as from a very high view, is Elise Coleman. And at the half, Elise Coleman only had 5 points. Like at one point in time, Jeffersonville was actually even in a box and one, which is wild. But that's what good basketball teams do, right? They shift the production to Brindley Clark. They shifted to Ava Castile. Those kids both go to the halftime locker room in double figures. They clearly picked up the slack. But their offensive efficiency, like one of the texts that I got coming out of that gym was just Jeffersonville had trouble guarding them. And so now you have a defensive-minded basketball team who is going to guard you, who is also on the other side of the floor having trouble. I mean, just like Jeffersonville having trouble guarding Floyd Central on the other side of the floor. Against a really good basketball team, that makes for a very bad formula, obviously. But yeah, I think we saw why Floyd Central is one of the favorites on the south side to deepen their run here, because they won on both sides of the floor tonight against, quite frankly, a very good Jeffersonville team, like a very good one.
Much better than their record indicates. Certainly deceiving. Quick thought to your point. I think I picked it up and watched as they were boxing oneing Elise Coleman, but it was other kids just stepping up at will for Floyd Central. Yeah. That's kind of an underrated thing. They're so good defensively, but offensively, they got some weapons, some kids shooting the ball with confidence too.
Yep, no doubt.
Danny, with that, we're going to go ahead and bring on our guests right now. We are joined by Crown Point coach Brad Stangel, sophomore Ava Richie. Crown Point, as we mentioned, coming off a big win tonight over Morton, 53-49. Ava and Brad, how are you guys doing?
Good.
A lot better than we were about an hour ago.
Yeah.
Boy, that was a stressful game to say the least, huh?
Yes, very.
Yeah, I mean, we really started pretty well.
Yep.
And it started really well, and and then and then it became a really, really kind of fun game down the stretch.
Go ahead, Dan.
Coach, I screened the first game that you guys had against Morton. Congratulations tonight, by the way. And just talk about the game preparation and just getting your kids to believe that they can beat them. I mean, certainly that was a very close game, the one that you played earlier in the season against Morton. You came out on the wrong side of that one. But these are our young kids, right? And as coaches, we sometimes need to kind of get them to believe sometimes. Just talk about where your psyche was as a basketball team going into this basketball game, having played Morton for already once this season.
Well, I think if you look at when we played them, I think it was our third loss, and it was we've lost 4 times, and it was our third loss in a row. It was kind of in a difficult place for us right there. And I think that, we were able to look and evaluate ourselves back there in December, and we've gotten a little better since then. We've played a pretty good schedule since then. We hadn't pressed a whole lot then. Tonight we pressed early, and I think that helped us, and we were just kind of able to evaluate. And at that point, as a new coach, I mean, we were 13 games in, maybe not even that many games in. So we had a chance to play, 10 more games since then. And, I think our players really took to what we were trying to do tonight. And I think they had some confidence going into the game. And I thought we played really well early and then really well late, which was great.
Ava, talk about that. In the first basketball game, the freshmen matched on you, not a ton of help. Bonner kind of stays home. You probably suspect, because they had a little bit of success in that game, that it was likely going to be Bonner again, but you get off pretty well early in this basketball game too. Just talk about where your head was kind of early in this basketball game or heading into it.
Yeah, wow. We just we had this motto, our team, we were just play with heart, and and we were just give it all you got. And obviously we there was a lot of bumps and ups and downs, and we were just we just got to keep going. We found we found a bunch of different things to make us motivated. And even one of our seniors got hurt, and we were okay, well, we got to do this for her. We got to just keep going. And again, just so much adversity tonight, but we just found a way to just keep pushing through that adversity and just got us the win.
Very cool.
You guys lost a senior to injury tonight?
We didn't lose anybody, but we did get a senior hurt, and she was
the game.
Yeah.
Hey Brad, let's get to the crunch time stuff here, because the game, look, it really boiled down to really the last 2 minutes of it, right? I mean, it can go either way. I was talking about it while you guys were fixing your camera, that I thought you guys executed really well. With 1:17 left, that's a tied basketball game. You call timeout. You have an ATO situation. You get the guard on big screen with Ivy that creates the and one. She misses the free throw, but she carries on that 2-point lead that you never relinquish the rest of the basketball game. So obviously you see that possession as a critical possession for you. Did you see anything that led you to that set? Is that something that you run all the time? Is that a draw?
We tried to run it 3 times earlier in that game, and we couldn't get the ball reversed twice.
Yeah.
So we finally got the ball in the right spot. And when we did, we were able to execute the play. And Addison Seibert gets a really good screen. Ava Richie makes a good pass, and Ivy's strong and makes a play. But I mean, we've been trying to get to that 3 different times throughout the game, and we were able. I mean, because we weren't able to run it the other 2 times, it actually worked out better for us because they didn't know it was coming, and we made a great pass. And anytime you have a point guard who can get you into stuff, we can run a lot of things, especially at the end of the game. And whether they're, all over Ava or whatever, but she's able to get us into it. And then we were able to execute that down the stretch. And we made we made 3 nice plays there just to be able to get it. But we messed it up twice before that.
Coach, it was a great call because they're dealing with foul trouble too. So even if they fight over that screen, I mean, I know you probably want the switch there, but even if you didn't get it, you got somebody contesting the shot with 4 fouls, and KP had 4 fouls. I mean, you would have taken really any action at the rim there and you got it. So congratulations on that. It's nice to see it work, isn't it?
Yeah, yes, it was. And, they executed and the pass was on time. And yes, whatever we were going to get there, whether it was a guard, a double screen, even if it was a double, I think we'd be able to get her the basketball at that point.
Yeah. Well, the kid sitting next to you ices it away at the line. Okay. And one of the look, you can have a 98% foul shooter like you have sitting next to you, but getting him the basketball, trusting them with the basketball in time and score situations. I talked about it while you guys, again, were fixing your camera, but there was a possession late in that game, Ava, where you ran extra clock instead of taking a contested layup. You ended up getting the 2 free throws down the stretch. You missed one, which surprised you by judging by your reaction. But what a weapon to be a 98% foul shooter. Ava, look, you shoot the foul shots well, but shooting them in a sectional elimination game as young as you are has got to be something else. Was there any question that you were going to just take the ball and just get fouled?
No, like in that possession, I'm just like, okay, I'm not going to give the ball up unless like I literally have to, because like I realize the time and it's like, all right, I just have always been taught to like just value the basketball. So I was like, at this point, I'm just not giving it up until I literally have to, because I know that they're going to foul me eventually with I think it was like 18 seconds left or something. And then getting to line just like before, even though I missed like the first one, I was like, all right, you got the next one. But before that, I'm just like, I've done this 1,000 times. Like even with like the crowd, like it's just like I've done it 1,000 times. What's there to like worry about missing?
Yeah, good for you. Brad, I'm going to bring it back one step before we kind of spin it forward. KP. I mean, you've guarded her, or you've coached against her. It was pretty clear with the way that you were positioned, your quarter court man defense, that you were not going to let her beat you in quarter court. Was that a change? Is it newfound respect for her after the first performance? Where are you with guarding KP?
Well, it's hard. It's really hard to guard her, and you got to give her credit because she just keeps going, and she finds spots and she handles the basketball well, and she's so big and strong and her body control is great that she can find areas. It's the same thing we were trying to do last time. We just executed a lot better this time. Yeah. And she can get to wherever she wants, but we held her to 6 made baskets today.
Yeah.
All she had was 6. And, and we talked about, if she makes a couple shots, she's going to make a few shots. I mean, she's just that good of a basketball player. But can we make her work to catch the ball? Can you make her work that she always has to see something? And, maybe that's why she was, maybe she didn't make all her free throws. I don't know. But she passes the ball well. She gets in the way. I mean, you're trying to get to where you get to, and all of a sudden her hand gets on the ball. You know, she's a terrific basketball player, and she played great tonight. And I'm happy the ball was in her hands at the end and not in 24's hands, and that's a winning formula for us.
Yeah, you took down one of the state's best, regardless of class tonight, and so now you can hang your hat on that. You're off and running, and you're moving right, but like nobody cares, right? I mean, how do you have practice tomorrow? How do you keep your team focused that you still have a sectional to win and you didn't actually win it tonight?
Well, I think you want to cut out on that.
Yes.
And I think that's the focus. And I believe I mean, the goal is one game, and now we'll move on. And Hammond Central is a great player. And so now we got to turn the page and we'll go. And we have to focus, and we have to understand that that's where we go to next. And we had a fun bus ride home. We had a fun locker room. You know, we'll enjoy it, and then we'll get back ready to go on Wednesday, because 365 days ago, this group ended their season and our season 365 days ago. So that's motivation there enough.
Ava, how different is it coming into a sectional year 2 versus year 1? Like what's different for you coming into tonight?
A lot more confidence and preparation, I think, and just like all of us being more on the same page, because like a lot of our team is like the same team back, so we're all like, after the loss last year, we were all pretty in like a lot of distraught, so we're like, okay, we have to play with like more of a chip on our shoulder now, and we wanted it, I think, more than we did last year. So I think that came into like, or had a big part in like us being able to pull that one off.
Did that help you? Did you feel a little bit more composed maybe than you expected in those tight crunch game situations?
For sure, yeah.
Go ahead, Dan.
Oh, well,
Sorry, Danny.
No, it's okay. A little jumbled out of order here, but I can I ask you this? And Coach, you can duck this, I suppose, if you want. But the draw comes out and you have Morton first. Okay, like Lake's on the other side. I mean, it's everybody's nightmare for not seeding the sectional or whatnot, but you get it. And I think maybe your answer is different after the game than it maybe would have been before the game. Did you want Morton first? Do you like where you're set up right now, or navigating the tournament with them kind of waiting for you on Saturday night? Is that a different story?
Personally, I was okay with it Tuesday night. I really was. It gave us time to prepare. I think, you know, I mean, you never, you know, you look at the team, the only team that's beaten in the sectional, and you get it right away. And it's like, okay. And then you got to refocus. But we got time to prepare, and we had time to prepare. I think that gives us an advantage than if we would have played them Saturday. And we didn't have any time to prepare. And, you know, and we had to prepare for Hammond or Munster or Lake Central. And then here we go. We got about an hour and a half to look at Morton, and here we go. So I you know, obviously sitting on this end of this right now going, all right, it's over. And we're able to get a victory. But I think in my 10 years, I think we've played this game at least half the time, where you end up playing the team that, you know, either you lost to, or what everybody thinks might be the second best team in the draw, or the best team in the draw. It happens, but I think this gives you time to prepare. I also think playing on Tuesday we have now, hey, we've been in the environment, now we know how to go, and we can go. But you know, it's one of those things where you see it and you go, all right, well, there it is, and now you know what you're going to do. And you know, it was a great game, and you know, that was a sectional final type of game. Now it's not the sectional final because there's a lot left, but I mean, it felt like one of those where every possession mattered.
I'll let Hank close it out, but I got to ask, how long have you been running chin? Looks good.
What do we got?
Oh, is that basic?
Yeah, that's basic.
Literally like this year we put it.
Yep.
Right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so since this summer, and just have like worked on it ever since, and yeah.
Cool. That was very good. Coach, you can tell the teams that are committed to the chin when they run it as their time killer also. your comfort level and just kind of softening that flare cut and not really pushing the gap drive, just reversing the ball pretty quickly. And you guys just ran it so Doug Springer runs a great one up at Northridge. I hadn't screened you guys as much as I probably should have coming into this, and I probably will now, but I have noticed in the games that I watch, you guys are pretty dedicated to that offense, and it looks really good. So congrats on that too. How long have you been running that, Coach?
Thanks. This is year 4.
Yeah,
we've been running as you know, and we're able to run a little more of the point actions with the group that we have right now than we have in the past. And we once we get to that ball screen a little bit more, I think there's more we can get out of it. But yeah, I mean, we got a couple back cuts today. We got a couple, what we call our sinker cuts in there early.
Yep.
It was good.
Yep. Yeah. The point stuff is, I mean, that a lot of that stuff is read and react, right? Do I reject the screen and on the ball screen kind of stuff? And so, yeah, like it sounds like it takes a couple of years to implement that, but it takes a couple of years in that could keep sitting next to you as your point guard. You're going to be running this thing at a super high level in a couple of years.
Yeah, I think so. I mean, I think we can keep layering it, and we can all understand kind of what we're trying to get out of it, and but it's been, since we got the job here in May that, hey, this is what we're going to do, and everything looks good when Ava Richie's running the point guard though too.
Exactly. Touche.
That's fantastic. Well, Ava and Brad, thanks so much for hopping on with us, especially on such late notice. Congratulations on the win. Hopefully we'll be talking here again in a couple weeks, talking about some regionals and semi-state games too.
Thanks for having us.
Thank you.
Congrats. Way to make your free throws, Ava. Good job.
Take care, guys.
You too.
You too.
Ava Richie, Brad Stangel with us from Crown Point. Impressive win sets up Danny for what should be a fun little semifinal there up in the region.
It's a wide open sectional. It was a wide open sectional even with Morton in it. But the thought that Lake Central and Hammond Central and these other teams are just going to lay down to Crown Point now is just not true. In fact, I actually thought if Morton got by this, that they were going to have their hands full with Lake Central,
Yes.
Kind of later in it too. The interesting thing, and we'll do this on the Thursday show, but just a quick note. Stylistically, it seems like a very similar basketball team with Jillian and Ivy and the point guards and so we'll see what Coach Huppenthal and Brad can kind of drum up there to make it new. Before we move on, I did want to make a point. That was always how I felt. Is if I was coaching in the sectionals, I would always want the most difficult opponent first for exactly what he said. You can be singularly focused on them for an entire week of practice, and you can drill in the install and you can drill in the adjustments, and you can actually see against live scrimmage what works and doesn't work. And I do think that some of those rotations, he said it was what they were trying to do in the first game. This looked complete. I mean, it looked completely different. Like it was just such a better execution display by Crown Point tonight, particularly on the defensive side, because KP just had no space to operate at all.
It's incredible. Like she finished with 22, but really good job of them largely containing that kid. Yeah. She's fully capable of going off. Let's move on to some other games here, Danny. This one was a shocker. Shortridge 57, Chatard 55. Shortridge, let's start with them. Let's give them their flowers. They're now up to 16 wins, which is their most since 2012, 2013. I'm still waiting to find out stats there, but they got a couple talented players, some recognizable names, ones that are recognized from coming early in the season with Garrett, Camariana Garrett, and Jocelyn Eskew. Eskew in particular, you can see there, has been having a really good season for them. They're a deep team. They're a defensive team. On the other side, Bishop Chatard, Olivia Berzai goes down with a non-contact injury in the first quarter. It was bad, very serious from what I've told. I've been texting with Dan Wagner a little bit. But that kid, was the heart and soul of the team. And to see her go down the way that she did was pretty devastating. And Chatard was just never quite able to recover. But full credit, full marks to Shortridge, because even without Olivia, that's a really good Chatard team that they took down, and a really exciting and monumental win for the Blue Devils. Yeah, it really is. That was the one that when it started to circulate the text threads, that everybody was like, wait, what? And most of the people were like,
who beat them. Okay. And this is, I will apologize. Sure. I didn't even, I mean, I'll be honest with you. I didn't even know who Chatard had played, but that is the beauty of this tournament. And it doesn't just change who Attucks is going to play. And it doesn't just change the winner of this game. It also changes the complexion of what Cathedral might be thinking on the other side of this, who had a multi-overtime game, I think a double overtime game against Chatard, just
2 years ago.
Month. No, just last month they did, and a couple of years ago. So the traditions of that matchup, which we all thought we were going to get on Saturday night, I think Lisa Finn now has a challenge on her hands to ensure that her kids, after a very easy, just coasted to an easy victory in this one, she's got to get her kids grounded and convinced that Shortridge didn't just win the sectional for Cathedral. Like, they got to come out and play, or the same thing's going to happen to them. Here's the interesting thing from a Shortridge perspective. This brings Cam Banks right back into play. Like, Cam Banks is now, we could see her on the floor of a sectional championship game if they were to get by Shortridge, because it is Attucks now in the semifinal in the second game on Friday night that will play Shortridge in a game that could go either way. And so we'll see, but congratulations to Shortridge. You guys are the owners and the authors of the biggest upset of the night.
Certainly the biggest upset of the night, and not particularly close either. Like, that was really impressive. Just their sectional win since 2020. They won a game last year over here, and this one a little bit more notable, I would say. And two, I think you mentioned it from the Cathedral perspective, and I don't mean to draw attention away from Shortridge, but it is kind of a wake-up call too, just like that subtle reminder, because they have a Purdue Poly team that is capable of spurring an upset like the one that Shortridge pulled tonight. Like, that's a really good Purdue Poly team. I like the piece that they had there. Their big three up top. We'll dive into that a little bit more, but congratulations to Shortridge. Upset of the night. That's really awesome for them. Really exciting, and really just, regardless of what happens Friday, a really cool feather and a cool note on what's been a historic season and a special season for that program under the direction of Jessica Reitner for the season.
Yep.
Let's see. Brebeuf versus Guerin. Again, second time they go to overtime. This time it's Brebeuf coming away 61-52. Guerin Catholic went on, I think it was a 5-0 run there to take a 5-point lead with about a minute 14 left. Brebeuf comes right back and manages to tie it at 51 to send it into overtime. And then in overtime, it was mostly Brebeuf. I think that experience helps out there. Again, that's what we keep getting back to. Audra Kendall, I heard, went down with injury. I haven't heard any updates on that, but I know that she was injured at one point. But really big win for Brebeuf. They now have the inside track, I would say, in that sectional. I'm going to go out to see Tri-West versus Danville tomorrow night. Then there's Lebanon versus Crawfordsville, I want to say, in the other game. Either way, sets up nicely for Brebeuf to finally break through and get that sectional championship that has been so elusive here over the past however many years it's been.
Yeah, look, you see it in tournaments all the time. It's the kind of win that can springboard a team through a run. We actually, and I don't know why we keep talking about Cathedral, but it's the same thing that happened at Cathedral, right? You get an early win and it springboards you, and all of a sudden you just keep winning basketball games, and you're in the third weekend. Like, and I'm not putting Brebeuf there, but remember when we had said, because the winner would now the favorite we can say is Cathedral, would play another Indianapolis school later in the regional if Roncalli were to chalk out also. And we talked about how if they were to get by this game and springboard them on this run, the path is laid out and not all that narrow for Brebeuf to find themselves through the second weekend into the third weekend. So a really good win by them. I did not realize when I saw the 61-52, I just thought that they maybe outclassed them. I did not realize that was an overtime game that fouling and shot making, and look, I'm just watching your highlight package here. Like, Jalen Bowling's clean on these like she's just clean on these looks. And so to be able to knock them down is it says a lot for her. But that was always, it's one of the better kids in the 27 class talent wise. And there's Bowling again. So again, if she can also, not just Brebeuf, but if she can carry over positive performances too, what she's going to find is that while a lot of these, 26s and 27s, these best players in the class, as they continue to get knocked off, she's going to find herself sitting there being like, I might be the one of the best players left in this tournament, because she's already one of the best players going into it. And as more kids get knocked off, it's just setting up for a nice little Jalen Bowling and Brebeuf run.
Second postseason win for Brebeuf since 2018. They knocked off Lebanon in the opening round last year. They weren't healthy fully last year. Bowling was coming off an injury. Now they get Crawfordsville. I misspoke earlier. They play Crawfordsville at 6 p.m. Friday. The other games tomorrow night, Tri-West versus Danville, Frankfurt versus Lebanon. I'm really excited to see that Danville Tri-West game. That's going to be really fun. First time getting a chance to see Ella Collier's group play against a Tri-West team that has a lot of talent back from last year. That's a dangerous team. Watch for the winner of that one to make some noise potentially there in that sectional championship game, likely opposite Brebeuf. Another game, Plainfield Ben Davis. This is one that I had a second screen going during the sectional 8 semifinals. This is one of the games that was on there. Ben Davis had the lead, I think, through a lot of the second half. Plainfield rallies back, finds a way to pull it out. They move on to face Brownsburg in the semifinals on Friday.
Yeah, I wasn't holding the phone, but that was the game that was streaming in our section while we were at sectional 8, watching the two games that were, quite frankly, not as entertaining from a score perspective.
Yeah.
But this one lived up. Okay. Like it lived up. And at one point in time, I'm just going to, like, there's a kid named Tootie Bland on Ben Davis, who's not Shania Curry. She's not Hannah Menster. She's not Berkeley Williams. She's a kid that's going to do everything that you need, particularly on the defensive side, but doesn't require a whole lot of volume on the offensive side. And she's the one that hits the big shots. Why do I go there with this? Because it's a 55-51 game, close game. And I know I'm going to the losing team coming up with this example, but Abby Orm, Tootie Bland, like it is the time for these kids to step up and make big shots. Now, I didn't screen the game. Okay. I'm just doing that just on kind of what was going on in our section. I was kind of paying attention, close enough attention to know that it was a very close game. But again, does that surprise you necessarily that Plainfield executes enough down the stretch in their critical possessions? We talk about this well-coached team and the battle-tested team that Plainfield is, and being in all of these close games against these great opponents, that paid back tonight. I just have to assume, and I will screen the game, but just a first reaction, I have to assume that is a storyline kind of going into the last 2 or 3 minutes of that game.
I think that game started wrapping up right as Westfield went on a run there late in the second half, or late in the first half. So my attention got diverted, and by the time I looked down, it was over. But Plainfield pulled ahead there late. It looked like the nice down the stretch at the free throw line. Really impressed with them. I think Danny froze on us again. He definitely froze on us again. Really nice win there for Plainfield as they advance. They're going to face Brownsburg there in that 7:30 p.m. semifinal on Friday. Hopefully get Danny back here in a second. One other game of note, another one where team came back to win. Lawrence North 60-58 over Warren Central in the sectional 10 quarterfinals over there at North Central to set up a rematch with North Central. The Wildcats were down by 5. I was peeking in on this game occasionally. They were down by 5 for a good chunk of that game. Found a way to rally back and pull ahead, then they iced it down the stretch at the free throw line. A really impressive win by the youthful Wildcats. They're another one of those teams, man, that just seems to – they may not grab your attention with the 10-13 record, but there's a lot of young talent in that room, and then you pair that with the returning seniors who have that championship pedigree. They know how to win. They know how to succeed and what it takes to win at this time of the year. And that's a really dangerous Lawrence North team. The team that they're going to face here at North Central, same kind of thing with the addition of Najee Winston. But Danny, I was going to wrap us up here at the individual games when we talk about Lawrence North and Warren Central. Come from behind win there for the Cats.
These two coaches have such a volume of success in the postseason, and it's not just Stephen Thomas and the recent success, obviously, that they had in winning the state championship last year, but Stacey Mitchell won the state championship in 2019 with a group, and always seems to be a difficult out. The fact that this was a one-possession basketball game at North Central between Lawrence North and Warren Central is zero surprise. I am anxious to get into the film and kind of watch as we spin forward. Apologies to Lawrence North and Warren Central that I don't have any kind of on-floor thoughts that I can share because I haven't screened the game yet. but I will, and we'll spin it 04 to a potential matchup, not a potential matchup, the matchup now against North Central, right? Is that what
that's gonna be a really fun game?
It's gonna be a great game.
And for Lawrence North, that snaps a 3-6-7 game losing streak. Like they were in the skids there a little bit, which is to be young team against a really, really tough schedule. But to lose that, then 8-9 coming into sectional to bounce back and to win it the way that they did, where you have to come back, says a lot about that group. And again, the experience, coaching, everything kind of comes together, culminates with a really nice win. There are a few games, Danny, for Wednesday. A relatively light slate, thankfully, gives us all a little bit of a chance to recover from the festivities that were tonight. Tri-West Danville is going to be the game that I'm at. Let's see what else we got here. We have Garrett versus Leo. There's also West Central versus Tri-County, North Judson versus Silcock Christian. That's going to be a really interesting one. Two teams there, probably the two best teams in that sectional 51. Lafayette Central Catholic looks to extend its season against Faith Christian. And then you have Trinity Lutheran versus Oldenburg Academy, which is one of the best first-round games in Class A coming up on Wednesday night. It'll be a shorter show tomorrow night, but Danny will be back. Maybe with some guests, maybe with some surprises. We'll see how the Tri-West Danville game goes. Then the plan is for Thursday at some point, we will have a preview of Friday's semifinal slate. We figured with so many games, including now North Knox, South Knox, everything in Sectional 8, everything out at Plainfield that's going to be happening. We may as well just do a full-on separate show on that side of things. Anything else, Dan, you want to get to before we call it a night?
No, I mean, I was just looking at the scores. I mean, it's the people that won. There's a lot of people that won handily that were kind of not really on upset watch, but Connorsville. Did we mention that Connorsville got by Hamilton Heights? That was a 20-point spread. You lose your point guard, right? We saw Chatard lose Berzai and what that does in just an individual game, and that now eventually that's going to catch up to you. And I think the Bailey Isel thing caught up to them, pretty quickly. Again, not having seen or screened that game, you had wins by Silver Creek and Madison. Those are both chalk. Washington chalked. Pendleton Heights chalked over Mount. Yeah, Pendleton Heights chalked tonight in a convincing win over Mount Vernon. So don't pay your taxes this year, I guess. Homestead was in action tonight. I didn't even know Homestead was in action.
Were they really? I thought they didn't play till Friday. No. Evansville Central 56-47 over Heritage Hills. I was interested to see how that goes. We should congratulate Maddy Shirley on clearing 2,000 points. She needed 8. I feel like I think the gag order has been lifted. She needed 8 going into that rescheduled game Saturday night against Castle. She got it with ease. Really awesome moment for her. 2,000 points and I believe 1,000 rebounds as well. So she joins Lanaya Wills there of Lapel. Lapel also moves on tonight. That's super rare air to have 2,000 points and 1,000 rebounds for your career like that.
Yeah.
Really impressive there. Congratulations to Lampley on being named to the McDonald's All-Americans on a team coached by Kurt and Stan Benj of Ben Davis and Plainfield, which is really cool. Stan and one of his assistant coaches from BD and Kurt are on the staff there for the McDonald's All-Americans.
That is cool.
Which is really cool. And I believe that's probably got to be the first time that those two have actually coached together on a team. So that's I'll have to confirm that with Kurt.
And it's one of the McDonald's All-American teams?
Yeah, the McDonald's American East teams. I was looking at that. I just
fantastic.
Down and
congratulations.
Kurt, yeah, how awesome is that? So that's a cool thing, and that's what we're going to end it on, is just a cool little bit of trivia. For Danny Riego, my name is Brian Haenchen. We will talk to you guys tomorrow night. Get some rest, folks. We got a long weekend.
See you guys.